In this video, I'd like to talk about the pillar of acting called emotional life. So first, taking a look at what emotional life is, it's basically this connection between an actor's emotions and the emotions which a character would feel. While characters can feel possibly slightly different emotions based on who's portraying them, the main goal of this is to connect what basically an actor thinks this character would be feeling in the moment to um, some type of emotion that they felt in their own life. And to be able to do that, basically you start with daydreaming. So the process of daydreaming, basically to get into the character's emotional feelings, is a process of, you connect something in your own life, or possibly a variety of things in your own life, which you would feel a certain type of strong way towards this emotion. And you compare it to the experiences of the character. If a character's sad, what's something that really made you sad in your life? Whatever an actor feels like made them sad in their life, they'd use that experience. They kind of daydream through that experience. They usually go in an area that's quiet, not a lot of other things to stimulate them, but they'd go sit for 15 minutes, around an hour, and they'd use just their imagination and body to relive this experience, to basically begin thinking the way a character would think. Then there's basically a sense of truth when you're doing this or acting. This is like a standard of belief of the authentic emotional display. Basically, if you're acting and you haven't done background research on basically your character, how real, you'll kind of feel that you're not really portraying what should be shown. You're kind of making things up, or you're going too unrealistic. But it's just something internally each actor has, this sense of truth, and make sure to think of it, because if your sense of truth is like basically telling you it's not, what you're portraying is not really truthful, you will want to change it up. Now, taking a look at some safe work with emotion. When you're doing this emotional life work or working with emotions, you have to be safe, especially in the mental capacity. The healthy actor basically describes how an actor knows where their limit is emotionally, how much to go into traumas, and where to stop and what not to go into. And some ways to safely work with emotion are basically having some entrance rituals, some ritual you would do each time before you begin working on a scene, doing some work with the character. And it was one thing to remember about all of emotional life is this is stuff to do as homework, some would say. Basically, work you would not do while you're acting. This is to do before you act. And sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. But basically, when you're working with this, you want to have these entrance rituals, even if it's a day you're performing. Anytime you're working with some scene, character, etc., you want to do an entrance ritual, something to make sure your mind knows I'm becoming this character. This is who I'm becoming. And then you want to have some closing ritual to make sure your mind, because you have to differentiate to safely work with emotions, what you are feeling as the actor versus what you're feeling as the character. And having these closing rituals helps to let your body know, okay, now I'm back as the person I'm living. I'm not still as the character who I was in that way. And then there's the idea of stop gapping. Basically, you can compare something you're feeling, or basically some emotion a character would have, to some other work. And this would be in a sense where, you emotionally could not match up to the way the character does. Or you find some other object or piece of media that would connect to the way the character emotionally feels better than a certain scenario in your life could. There's the emotional preparation. Basically, this is daydreaming before a scene to feel like the character for the first moment of a scene. Basically, what you're doing here is you're daydreaming right before you begin acting or working on a character, so you feel just as the character does right as the scene begins. Now, if you're daydreaming too long, once you start in your scene, well, it might not connect to what's actually happening. You might be thinking in a different sense. But if you daydream before, then you can think about, well, how would this this character would think like this. Okay, I'm going to go in with this mindset. Everything I've been practicing for my scene, I'm going to think about it, but you can also go in with an additional mindset that you did daydream about for that character to add, some more realness and for you to be able to actually feel like your character does. Remember, not doing it during a scene, doing it before a scene, because emotional life work is homework or stuff to do before a scene. And then there's the particularization, basically the process to connect an actor's feelings to ones which a character may feel. Basically, it's just one of these processes, or the main process to connect how well whoever's acting to what this character may want to feel. And what you're going to do with this, you're going to think about, okay, the character is feeling this certain way. Now, the thing I found in my life that I want to connect this to, I'm going to start thinking of that. So using that sad example from earlier, the character feels sad. I found something in my life that made me feel sad. And I keep going back back and forth between thinking of these two things, and eventually they become the same level. They become intertwined, both areas of thinking. My situation of feeling sad, now I'm thinking it right alongside at the same time as the situation of my character feeling sad. So, those two things are at the same time. That's the process you would usually use to work with emotional life, and that's called particularization. And then there's the thought of the as if. This is basically a way to connect actors' emotions in a scenario to the way a character perceives their emotions. How this is different from particularization is you're not thinking of the whole emotion the entire way as of compared to your life, but you're thinking of as basically it describes as if you're a character in the scenario. How would you feel? If I'm feeling sad, the character is feeling sad because someone's breaking up with them. Well, in your life, how did you feel if someone broke up with you? And you could use that as if scenario to continue the way you're thinking and acting, and you just use the questions whenever something emotional comes up with the character, or a way of thinking, something the character might think, and it would prove an emotional response. How would you think in that similar way with the example you had with your emotional response? And all of this is how to work with emotional life.